Morning, future CPAs. Morning, Pinel babies. Good morning, Pinel babies. Good morning, future CPAs. So let's discuss auditing final PB boards. So out of 70 items, 5 items on problem solving. So expect na most likely ganoon din in the actual board exam. And para maging efficient yung discussion natin, I'll go straight to the final answer. I-highlight ko na lang yung key points per item. Are you ready? Sige. Let's go to number 1. Which of the following statements is most correct regarding primary purpose of substantive audit procedures? We know it's letter C, to gather corroborative audit evidence about management's assertions regarding the client's financial statements. Number 2, the concept of reasonable assurance implies that an auditor, kapag reasonable assurance, walang guarantee. Letter A doesn't guarantee the accuracy of the financial statements. Number 3, after testing a client's internal control activities, an auditor discovers a number of significant deficiencies in the operation of a client's internal controls. Under these circumstances, the auditor most likely would, kapag may significant deficiencies in the internal controls, ibig sabihin, mataas yung assessed level of control risk, kailangan ibaba natin yung detection risk. Okay? So kapag mababa yung detection risk, mas marami tayong iti-test, or ibig sabihin, mas marami yung substantive testing natin. Okay? Punta ka dun sa letter B. Increase the assessment of control risk and increase the extent of substantive test. Okay, so letter B for number 3. Number 4, which of the following is not an appropriate method for testing the operating effectiveness of controls? Kapag TOC, 4 na procedures yan: inquiry, inspection, observation, and reperformance. So, ang wala dyan ay yung letter D, analysis of financial ratios or analytical procedures, substantive testing yan. For number 4, it's letter D. Number 5, when discussing control risk and the audit risk model, which of the following is false? Yung A, C, and D, lahat yan ay tama. Yung B, yung mali. Bakit, sir? If the auditor concludes that internal control is completely ineffective, he or she would assign a low value to CR. Mali. Kasi kapag ineffective internal controls, dapat itataas natin yung assessed level of control risk. Okay? Letter B for number 5. Number 6, the auditor ordinarily assesses control risk at a high level for some or all assertions when, kailan mataas yung control risk natin? Letter A, the entity's accounting internal control systems are not effective. Tama yan. Evaluating the effectiveness of the entity's accounting internal control systems would not be efficient. So, ang ibig sabihin nun is, diretso substantive testing na tayo. Okay? So, hindi na tayo magti-TOC. Okay? So, tama pareho yan. Letter C, either A or B. Number 7, the auditor shall express an adverse opinion when? Adverse opinion, kapag may material misstatement that is both material, may misstatement, material, and pervasive. Tapos sa letter C, the auditor, having obtained sufficient appropriate evidence, concludes that misstatements, individually or in aggregate, are both material and pervasive to the financial statements. Adverse opinion, letter C. Okay, so number 8, the following statements relate to the auditor's responsibilities regarding related parties and transactions, which is incorrect. Yung B, C, and D, tama lahat yan. Yung A, yung mali. The auditor is responsible. Mali, dapat si management. The management is responsible for the identification and disclosure of related parties and transactions with such parties. Letter A is incorrect. Number 9, an entity's management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the FS. Its responsibility includes the following except yung A, B, and C, responsibilities yan ni management. Yung D, responsibility yan ni auditor. Assessing the risk of material misstatement of the financial statements or yung RMM, risk of material misstatement, yan yung inherent risk and control risk. Siyempre, ang bahala mag-assess niyan ay si auditor. Okay? Number 10, under which of the following circumstances is a disclaimer of opinion inappropriate? A, B, and D, appropriate yan. Yung letter C, the financial statements fail to contain adequate disclosure concerning related party transactions o pwedeng qualified or adverse yan. Hindi yan disclaimer. Okay? Letter C for number 10. Number 11, tests for unrecorded assets typically involve tracing from, pag tracing, dun ka sa letter A, source documents to recorded journal entry. So, titignan natin syempre kung from source document or yung supporting document, isi-check natin kung na-record ba siya sa journal entry. So, in that way, may test natin yung unrecorded assets. So, letter A for number 11. Number 12, when an auditor uses statistical sampling techniques to perform tests of controls related to an assertion, factors that influence the sample size include, dapat ang sinagot yun dito is letter B, expected rate of deviation of the population to be tested. So, meron siyang direct relationship sa sample size. Yung A, mali yan kasi para yan sa variable sampling or substantive testing. Okay, ang tanong sa atin, test of controls or attribute sampling. Number 13, under which of the following circumstances would an auditor most likely issue either a qualified or disclaimer kapag may scope limitation? Punta ka sa letter D, the client's attorney refused to respond to the letter of audit inquiry. So, scope limitation yan. Okay, so qualified or disclaimer. Number 14, which of the following is not likely a threat to independence? Letter D, kapag immaterial na indirect, okay lang yun, acceptable siya. So, hindi siya threat to independence. Letter D for number 14. Number 15, which of the following audit procedures is ordinarily performed last? So, among the choices, ang last dito ay yung obtaining a management representation letter because we know yung procedure na yan is under completing the audit stage na yan. Okay, letter B. Which of the following is least likely to be included in an agreed upon procedures? Letter B. Use of the report is dapat restricted, okay, to all the users. Mali yung B kasi nakalagay unrestricted. Dapat restricted. Number 17, to whom should written management representations be addressed? Iyan ay from management addressed to the auditor. Okay, so letter A, to the auditor. Number 18, the output of a parallel simulation should always be, so alam natin, kailangan i-compare mo yan manually. Punta ka sa letter B, compared with actual results manually. Number 18 is letter B. Number 19, the primary objective of analytical procedures used near the end of the audit or during completing the audit stage. Letter D, assist the audit in evaluating the overall financial statement presentation. Number 20, which of the following forms of evidence is considered to be the most reliable? Among the choices, ang pinaka-reliable dito ay yung D, confirmation of receivable balance received from a customer. Kasi galing sa customer yan or third party, hindi yan internally generated. So, letter D yung answer natin. Number 21, under which circumstances it is likely that the extent of substantive procedures will be expanded beyond that anticipated in the audit plan. Kailan daw natin itataas yung or dadamihan yung substantive procedures natin? Well, basically, yung sinulat natin kanina. Letter D, the operating effectiveness of certain controls was found to be less than effective kapag meron tayong ineffectiveness sa internal controls, mataas yung control risk, mababa yung detection risk, mas marami yung substantive testing natin. Letter D for number 21. Number 22, which of the following methods of sample selection is appropriately used when selecting a random sample? Yung A and B, tama yan. Kaya lang yung C, auditor's random selection of items, mali yun. Okay? So letter D yung sagot natin. A and B, but not C. Number 22 is letter D. 23, in auditing investments for proper valuation, the auditor should do all of the following. Should do all but the following. Alin daw dito yung except. Okay? So yung A, B, and D, lahat yan ay valuation. While yung letter C, confirm securities held in safekeeping, yan ay existence assertion. So letter C tayo for number 23. Okay, 24. Determining the adequacy of impairment provision on planned assets at the end of the reporting period supports the management assertion of kapag meron kang accumulated impairment or may impairment loss ka, valuation and allocation. Letter D for number 24. 25. Which of the following is not a primary function of working papers? A, B, and D, lahat yan ay functions. Letter C, to serve as a substitute, the client's accounting records, mali yan. Letter C for number 25. 26. Which of the following statements concerning the auditor's responsibility regarding subsequent events is incorrect? A, C, and D are all correct. B yung mali. Bakit, sir? The audit procedures to identify events that may require adjustment or disclosure in the financial statements should be performed as near as practicable to the date of the auditor's report. Okay, hindi date of issuance of the audited financial statements. Letter B for number 26. 27. Choose the incorrect statement regarding substantive procedures. A, B, and C, tama lahat yan. Letter D yung mali. Substantive procedures, they constitute the final phase of the audit process. Mali kasi middle portion yan, middle stage yung substantive testing. Letter D for number 27. 28. Which of the following is accurate? Tingnan natin kung bakit mali yung ibang choices. Letter A, a sample of all items of population will eliminate sampling risk but will increase non-sampling risk. Mali yung increase non-sampling risk. Letter B, the use of an appropriate sample selection technique ensures a representative sample, yung mga ganung words, ingat kayo doon, mga ensures, ganyan. The auditor's failure to recognize an exception is a significant cause of, dapat yan, non-sampling risk. So, ang tama lang dito ay yung letter D. The use of inappropriate audit procedures is a significant cause of non-sampling risk. Letter D for number 28. 29. What would most effectively describe the risk of incorrect rejection in terms of substantive audit testing? Yung letter A, mali yan kasi acceptance. Ang rejection dito ay yung letter C. The auditor concludes that the balance is materially misstated when in actual fact it is not. Okay, so letter C for number 29. 30. Auditing by testing the input and output of a computer system instead of the computer program itself will, pag input and output lang iti-test natin in IT audit, well, yung letter A, not detect program errors which do not show up in the output sample. Okay, yung sagot natin. Number 31, which of the following is accurate? So, tingnan natin. Letter A, test of balances, focus on the transactions. Mali yun, dapat iyan ay test of transactions. Yung letter B naman, test of balances, focus on understanding internal controls. Mali yan. Ang tama yung letter C. Test of balances, focus on the ending balances of accounts in the client's trial balances. Okay? So, letter C tayo for number 31. Number 32, which of the following statements about existence and completeness is incorrect? Alin daw yung mali dito? Letter C, baliktad siya. Kasi dapat yung existence deals with overstatement while yung completeness naman, understatement. Letter C for 32. 33, a number of factors influence the sample size. For a substantive test of details, all other factors being equal, which of the following would lead to a larger sample size? So, mas mataas na sample size. Letter D, okay? Smaller measure of tolerable misstatements. So, meron siyang, tingnan natin. All other factors being equal, which of the following would lead to a larger sample size? So, tama. So, letter D, because iyan ay mayroon siyang inverse relationship. Kung lower ang tolerable misstatement, mas mataas ang sample size natin. Letter D for number 33. Okay? 34, in the structure of accounting system function, the most essential segregation of duties is, punta ka sa letter C, assuring that those responsible for programming the system do not have access to data processing operations. So yung programmer, yung nag-program ng system, and yung users of the system, yun dapat sila ay properly segregated. Letter C for number 34. 35, which of the following most likely address the existence of unrecorded liabilities? Pag unrecorded liabilities, alam natin yung subsequent cash disbursement, yung procedure natin dyan. Letter C, examine a sample of cash disbursements in the period subsequent to year-end. Letter C for number 35. 36, when an auditor reviews the renewal of a currently maturing long-term note payable shortly after the end of the reporting period, he or she is obtaining the evidence concerning management assertion of, kapag i-renew yung currently maturing long-term note, basically, iyan ay from current liability, magiging non-current liability. Okay? So, presentation and disclosure yan for number 36. 37, the application controls consist of the following except, tama yung input, process, and output, mali yung letter D. Controls over access systems, software, and documentation, more of general control yan. Instead of application controls, for number 37 is letter D. 38, in which of the following instances the CPA prohibited from disclosing sensitive information discovered during an audit engagement? Letter A yan, to a successor auditor without the client's permission. Dapat lagi may permission ni client before makipag-communicate si successor and si predecessor auditor. Letter A for number 38. 39, based on the principles of the Code of Professional Ethics, punta ka dun sa letter D. When providing audit and other assurance services, all members of public practice should be independent in fact and appearance. Kailangan mo lang maging independent for assurance services. Kapag non-assurance, hindi kailangan na independent. Letter D for number 39. Number 30 or number 40, which of the following would be deemed least likely to be a violation of independence rules? Punta ka sa letter C. Providing tax consulting services to a client who is undergoing an audit. Okay lang yun. So, accepted yan in practice because yung tax consulting is a non-assurance service. 41. A type 1 subsequent event involves subsequent information about a condition that existed at the balance sheet date. Subsequent knowledge of which of the following would cause an entity to adjust its December 31 FS. So, alin dito yung adjusting or type 1 event? Letter C, settlement of litigation in Feb for 100,000 that had been estimated 120,000 into the December 31 financial statements. Kasi nag-record ka. As of December 31, 120K siya, naging 100K, adjusting event ang tawag natin dyan. Yung A, B, and D, yan ay non-adjusting events. Letter C for 41. 42. A certificate of accreditation shall be issued by a CPA in public practice only after such registrant has acquired how many years of meaningful experience? 3 years. Letter C for number 42. 44. Which of the following? 43. In assessing control risk for purchases, an auditor vouches a sample of entries in the voucher register. Which assertion? Kapag vouching, existence yan. Okay, letter D for number 43. 44. Which of the following procedures is most likely to be included in the final review stage or yung completing the audit stage? Among the choices, ang consistent lang ay yung analytical procedures. Because yung analytical procedures, letter D, involve siya during planning, substantive testing, and completion. Number 45. A CPA is performing an audit of ABC Company, a wholesaler of consumer products. He begins with entries in the sales journal and make sure that there's a sales invoice to it. So, accounting records to supporting document. Ang tawag natin dito, this is vouching. Okay? Kapag vouching, letter A, existence assertion, tama yan. Letter B naman, kapag existence, probably concerned with overstatement, tama din yan. Letter C for number 45, both A and B. 46, statement 1, to detect, dapat yan, to detect an understatement. Okay? In the sales review, the auditor's testing should be from shipping documents to the sales journal or tracing yung tawag natin yan. Kapag tracing, ayan, so completeness naman, baka may understatement. So mali yung statement 1. Statement 2, confirmation of AR provides evidence as to, kapag confirmation, automatic existence yan. So both are incorrect, letter D for number 46. 47, the auditor's responsibility when there is substantial doubt on the continuance of entities going concern, laging yung kung appropriately disclosed yan. Letter D, assess whether the uncertainty was disclosed and whether the disclosure is adequate. Number 47, letter D. 48, this is a type of computer-assisted audit techniques or CAATs which shifts control over processing to the auditor by using the client's software to process auditor prepared data. Test data tawag natin dyan, letter A for number 48. 49, in auditing inventories, a major objective relates to existence assertion of the following audit procedures relating to inventories, which is ang support existence assertion, A, C, and D, existence yan, while yung letter B, valuation yan. Kasi the auditor performs lower of cost or NRV, valuation yan. Letter B for number 49. 50, an auditor is verifying the existence of newly acquired fixed assets. Kapag existence, best procedure for fixed assets or PPE is letter B, physical examination or physical inspection of a sample of a newly recorded fixed assets, letter B for number 50. Number 51, the basis for opinion section of the auditor's report shall. Sa choices, ano lang yung makikita mo dyan sa basis for opinion? Actually, sa basis for opinion, doon mo makikita yung PSA or Philippine Standards on Auditing. Punta ka sa letter D, state that the audit was conducted in accordance with PSA. Okay, so letter D yan. 52. Which of the following responsibilities shall be described in the management responsibility section? Yung letter B, C, and D, audit responsibilities yan ni auditor. Okay? Auditor's responsibility section yan. While yung letter A, yan yung responsibility ni management. Letter A for number 52. 53. When auditors conclude that a material and pervasive departure from GAAP exists, which of the following would most likely be included? Pag material and pervasive, adverse opinion. Alin dito yung adverse opinion? Letter D, do not present fairly in all material respects. Letter D for number 53. 54, when the management does not amend the financial statements in the circumstances where the auditor believes they need to be amended, the auditor should express, kapag kailangan i-amend, ibig sabihin may material misstatement. Kapag may material misstatement, depende sa materiality and pervasiveness. So, ang choices natin, either qualified or adverse, letter C for number 54. 55, which of the following would cause an auditor of an entity's FS to issue either a qualified or disclaimer? Again, qualified disclaimer. Kapag may scope limitation, letter C for number 55. 56, the auditor determined that the audit client has not capitalized a considerable number of leases in the financial statements. Which reporting choices would the auditor use when assessing the materiality of this departure from financial reporting standards? So kapag hindi kinapitalize, ibig sabihin, merong misstatement. Okay, so ang choices natin, either qualified or adverse, depending on materiality and pervasiveness. Letter C. 57, the report that contains an unqualified opinion with emphasis of matter paragraph. Kapag emphasis of matter, may effect ba yan sa opinion natin? Wala. Additional paragraph lang yan. Okay? So, punta ka sa letter A. Meets the requirements of a full audit with satisfactory results. Letter A for number 57. 58, in an automated payroll processing environment, a department manager substituted a time card for a terminated employee with a time card for a fictitious employee. The fictitious employee had the same pay, rate, hours, and worked as a terminated employee. The best technique to detect his action using employee identification numbers. So, paggagamit tayo ng numbers na pag in-add natin ay usually wala naman talagang sense, pero it is a form of internal control. So, in this case, employee identification numbers, ang tawag natin doon is hash total, letter B for number 58. 59, which of the following statements about the chairman and members of the BOA is correct? Actually, bali lahat yan. Bakit, sir? A, no person shall serve in the board for more than 12 years. Letter B, no one who has served dapat 2 consecutive full terms is eligible for reappointment until 1 year has passed. Dapat 2 consecutive full terms. Letter C, an appointment to fill an unexpired term is not treated as a full term. Okay, hindi siya considered as full term. Letter D, none of the above for number 59. 60, when a misstatement in the financial statements would affect a user's decision, but the overall FS are fairly stated, it would be appropriate to issue. Ibig sabihin, may material misstatement. Pero fairly stated pa rin. So, ang appropriate opinion dito is a qualified opinion or except for. Okay, meron na tayong except for. Letter B for number 60. Okay, so number 61, according to RA 9298, which of the following statement is not required for a candidate to be eligible to take the CPA licensure examination? So, hindi mo kailangan maging resident of the Philippines because, syempre, kahit naman yung mga CPA takers natin abroad, pwede yun. Pwede mag-take yan kahit wala sila sa Pilipinas. Okay? SPLE yung tawag natin doon, yung sipale sa ibang bansa. Okay? So, hindi required na resident ka sa Philippines. Number 62, other factors remaining constant. The audit risk is increased by an increase in kailan tataas yung audit risk natin. Babalik ka lang sa audit risk model. Audit risk is equal to inherent risk times control risk times detection risk. So, among the choices, pag tumaas yung detection risk, tataas yung audit risk. Letter D for number 62. Mali dyan yung B, yung effectiveness of internal controls. Kasi pag effective yung internal controls, mababa yung control risk. Mababa yung audit risk. Okay? So, kaya ang sagot lang dito ay yung letter D, detection risk. 63, which of the following most accurately describes the process of walkthrough? Ang walkthrough dito ay yung letter D, following a transaction from its origination until it is reflected in the financial statements. 64, the preliminary engagement activities of an audit engagement for an audit firm do not include yung A, C, and D under preliminary engagement activities yan. While yung letter B, setting a preliminary estimate of materiality, planning stage yan. Okay, so hindi yan kasama. 65, during audit of an entity's financial statements, an auditor should perform test of controls to obtain sufficient appropriate evidence about the client operating effectiveness if. So, magti-TOC ka, well, first, kapag mababa yung control risk, pwede ka mag-TOC muna and then substantive testing. But in that case, mas konti na lang yung substantive testing. Among the choices, ang pinaka-accurate dito is letter C. Substantive procedures alone cannot provide sufficient appropriate evidence. Kaya TOC muna bago ka mag-substantive testing. Okay? Sige, doon naman tayo sa problem solving. As you can see, sinulat ko na yung solution sa board. So, tingnan natin. Number 66, tingnan natin yung mga questions. 66, how much daw yung total current assets? 67 is how much yung carrying amount of property, plant, equipment or PPE. Number 68, total current liabilities. Number 69, total shareholders' equity. And then 70, total liabilities and shareholders' equity. Okay, so tingnan natin. You have been appointed as auditor of One Take Corporation, and its statement of financial position shows the following. So, tingnan natin yung mga breakdown. Punta tayo dun sa letter A. A review of the account balances reveals the following. Letter A. Analysis of current assets discloses the following. So, yung cash Obviously, ayan ay part of the current assets. Trading securities or FBPL, wala tayong problema dyan. So, current assets yan. Accounts receivable, 204,900, part din yan ng current assets. Inventories, pati yung supplies, kasama yan. 382,500 or dapat separate presentation yung supplies. Pero basically, pareho naman yung current assets. So, nilagay natin sa current assets. Next, other assets include the following. So, yung PPE, meron daw siyang book value na 166,3,500. Nilagay natin sa PPE yan. Yung cost, i-disregard mo kasi ang tanong sa number 67, carrying amount daw. Alam natin pag carrying amount, hindi yung book value. Next, deposit with the supplier for a merchandise ordered for July delivery. Nag-advance tayo kay supplier. Yung deposit or advances to supplier, current asset ang presentation yan. Okay? Goodwill recorded on the books to cancel losses incurred by the company in prior years. Yung goodwill, hindi yung pinaka-cancel sa loss yan. Ang loss, bawas sa retained earnings yan. Magiging deficit ang retained earnings because of losses. Kaya kung makikita nyo later, yung 196,200 na yan, ginawa kong deficit or chinarge ko yan sa retained earnings. Okay? Next, current liabilities include the following. Meron tayong salaries payable, current liability yan. Taxes payable is a current liability. Accounts payable, 333,900. Niless niya yung 6-month note received from a supplier. Notes receivable yan na 6 months. And we know, notes receivable na 6 months, current assets yan. Okay? So, pag in-add mo lahat ng current assets, ang makukuha mo dyan is 933,000. That's why letter D is our final answer for number 66. Let's continue. Next, notes payable, 96,000. Siyempre, it's a current liability. Letter D, other liabilities include the following. So, meron tayong 10% mortgage note or mortgage payable. And then, payable daw siya, semi-annual installments of 60,000. Semi-annual, ibig sabihin 2 times per year. Kung 60,000 times 2, 120,000 yung currently maturing. And yung currently maturing is a current liability. So, dito siya nilagay, 120,000. Follow kayo doon? So, pag in-add natin yan, lahat ng current liabilities natin will total 637,260. Tingin ka dun sa number 68, total current liabilities, letter C yung sagot natin. And for PPE, nasagutan natin siya kanina, 166,3,500. For number 67, letter B yung answer natin dyan. Okay? Sige. Now, balik tayo dun sa mortgage payable. Ang nakalagay ng mortgage payable is 600,000. And we know yung 120,000 is current. Therefore, 600 minus 120, 480,000, iyon yung non-current liability. Ito siya, 480,000. Non-current liability yan. Okay, doon naman tayo sa letter E, shareholders' equity, include the following. So, meron tayong preference shares, 900,000. Ordinary shares, 525,000. Siyempre, pareho yan, shareholders' equity siya. Ngayon, sir, saan mo nakuha yung share premium na 960,000? Kung makikita nyo sa given, ang share premium dito is 250,440. Pero tingin ka dun sa last sentence. Ordinary shares were originally issued for 1,485,000. But the losses of the company for the past years were charged against share premium. Mali yun. Kapag may losses, syempre bawas sa retained earnings, nagiging deficit ang retained earnings natin pag ganun. So, ang ginawa ko dito, in-issue daw siya for 1,485. Di ba ang entry mo pag nag-i-issue ka? Debit cash, 1,485. Credit ordinary shares at par value, 525,000. Credit share premium na 960,000. Doon ko siya nakuha. So, paano mo sir nakuha yung 960? 1,485 minus 525. Ito yung tamang share premium, 960,000. Nakapalo kayo doon? So, ayan siya. Kaya share premium natin is 960,000. O sir, saan mo naman nakuha yung deficit na 905,760? So, kanina, in-explain ko na yung 196,200, iyan yung goodwill kanina na pinang-cancel ng loss. Mali yun. Dapat yan i-charge to RE. Saan mo naman, sir, nakuha yung 709,560? So, yung share premium natin na should be is 960,000. Pero, ang share premium sa given is 250,440. Yung difference na yan, nire-represent niya yung losses na chinarge sa share premium. Hindi pwedeng i-charge sa share premium yun. Dapat yun ay i-charge mo sa retained earnings. Okay? So, kaya ako nakuha yung 709,560. Basically, yung 709,560 and 196,200, iyan yung losses sa previous years. Pag pinagsama mo yan, ang deficit mo dyan is 905,760. Follow kayo doon? So, add mo sila. Siyempre, negative ang deficit. Ang makukuha mong shareholders equity dyan, 1,479,240. That's why letter B is our answer for number 69. And for number 70, total liabilities and shareholders equity, Meron na tayong current liability kanina, which is 637,260. So, copy-paste lang natin yan. Meron tayong non-current liability. Ito yung long-term na or non-current na mortgage payable. And shareholders' equity, yung sagot natin sa number 69. Add mo lahat yan, 2596440. That is letter D. 2596. Okay, so 2596440, which is yung letter D ang sagot natin for number 70. Or pwedeng ang sagot mo din dito ay yung total assets, add mo lang din yung total liabilities. Total current assets, add mo lang din yung total non-current assets. Same lang makukuha mo dyan, 2596440. Okay? For number 70, quick correction lang, nagkamali lang ako ng pag-add. So total current liabilities natin is 637,260. Total non-current liabilities, 480,000. Ito yung mortgage payable kanina. And then shareholders equity natin is 1,479,240. So pag in-add natin lahat yan, ang correct na total is 259,6,500, which is still letter D. Okay? So sige, so that's it for auditing final pre-boards.